Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the Mandela Effect. This is Harmony speaking. Today is Saturday, February 11th, 2017, at 5:33 p.m. Central Standard Time. There's been a huge surge in my comments about reincarnation, and seems to be a bit of a debate going on in my comment sections about reincarnation, and the Christians are saying that where in the Bible does it teach reincarnation? And I'm here to tell you that the Bible does teach reincarnation. Yes, it does. It's a fact. It's a very little known fact because you have the only reason I know about it is because of my years of Bible study. You all know, as a minister for over 10 years, got a couple degrees in religion. So this is the only reason why I know this. And also, when you start reading, when you actually sit down and read the Greek, you have a much greater depth and understanding of the Bible. I can't read Hebrew, but if I could read Hebrew, I'd probably understand the Old Testament much better. That's why I believe the Jewish people are still taught to read, the Torah. Of course, somebody's going to say the Torah's not the Old Testament; it's the first 7 books of the... Anyway, I'm tired of all the critics. So critics, why don't you just sit down, relax for a minute. So basically, you can reference the book of Malachi. Now, Elijah is supposed to... even Wikipedia knows this. It's right here that the Elijah is the messenger of God, and that Elijah is supposed to announce the way. He's supposed to announce the Messiah. So when the Messiah comes, according to Old Testament prophecy, and you can look it up in the book of Malachi, that Elijah has to announce the coming of the Messiah. That is the true sign that the Messiah is coming. And this is one of the reasons why the Jewish folks do not believe that Jesus Christ was the Messiah, because they never saw Elijah return. They have this tradition every year where they sit down to dinner. The head of the household is obviously at the head of the table, and they set a place setting that's empty. The chair's empty, but the place, the plates and everything's there. And the oldest male asks the youngest boy to go outside and see if he's returned. Sorry, I have a little bit of a cold. I do apologize. So the boy goes outside and he looks around and he comes back in, and the oldest man says, "Well, did you see him?" He goes, "No, I didn't see him." And the oldest male says, "Well, perhaps he'll return next year." And then they continue to have their dinner, their celebration. So this is a practice that still goes on to this day. So the Jewish folks know that Elijah must return and announce the way of the Messiah. So what happened is the disciples came to Jesus one day, and they took him off to the side. They said, "Hey, Jesus, we got a little bit of a problem here. If you're the Messiah, then how come Elijah hasn't come back? Because we know the prophecy. Elijah must return and announce the way of the Messiah, or you, Jesus Christ, cannot be the Messiah. It's impossible." So the disciples actually took Jesus aside and called him out and said, "How can you be the Messiah? We don't get it." And Jesus said, "Oh, it's simple. John the Baptist was Elijah." Now, if you know the story, or maybe you can look it up, I'll just refresh your memory. John the Baptist was in a scene. If you know the scene's a rather interesting religious cult where they, pretty much torture themselves to keep their minds focused on the Lord and God. And I'm not going to go on the scenes. You can look that up yourself. But basically, John the Baptist was in a scene, and he came out of the desert into town, and everyone thought he looked just like Elijah. He acted like Elijah. He talked like Elijah. And he was announcing the way of the Messiah. So a lot of people who know, their prophecies said, "Oh my God, it's Elijah." And people were running around screaming, "Elijah's return! Elijah's return!" Everyone thought John the Baptist really was Elijah. And they're all excited because he's announcing away the Messiah, and they're thinking they're going to be saved. And there was people are like beginning to celebrate. And then, and then they're like, oh, wait a minute, you're not Elijah, you're who? You're John, who later became John the Baptist, got that nickname. So what Jesus said is that John the Baptist was Elijah. And that, to this day, is in the Bible. I'm sorry, you're going to have to research it on your own. I'm tired of doing everybody's work. So you just research it or trust me. It's in the Bible. Sorry, I'm getting a little irritated with people these days. So it clearly states that Jesus said John the Baptist was Elijah. And that's it. It's rather vague, just one little sentence. And the reason that little sentence is in there is because the folks who like to edit the Bible, you can say the King James Version if you want, believe it or not, that it's the authorized version. Everybody knows there's other versions. You can go back to the Greek. It's really the closest, probably the oldest text we have is the Greek. But anyway, so how do you explain Jesus Christ is teaching reincarnation, saying that John the Baptist is Elijah reincarnated? It's right there in the Bible. Jesus clearly states that Elijah was reincarnated as John the Baptist. There's really no other way to interpret it. But no, of course not. There is another way to interpret it. There's always another way, right? So the theologians sat around, scratched their heads, and they're like, we can't allow this. This is a huge problem because the Bible's teaching reincarnation. We got to come up with a solution to this. We got to explain this away because we're not hip on this reincarnation idea. We're no. We're not going for that. So they sat around and they thought of a great excuse. So here's the excuse they came up with. They say that what Jesus is really saying is that when John the Baptist came out, when he was in the scene, he came out of the desert, and he looked like Elijah and talked like him, and etc. And he announced the way of the coming of the Christ, and he was basically fulfilling prophecy. The theologians say that at that very moment, the spirit of Elijah came upon John the Baptist. In other words, they're saying he got possessed by Elijah. And at that moment, it was no longer John the Baptist. It was the spirit of Elijah taking over John the Baptist. Therefore, it's no longer John the Baptist. It is now Elijah fulfilling the prophecy, announcing the way of the Christ. Okay. Now, if there's any Jewish folks out there listening, you're just rolling your eyes and scratching your head because that is not what the prophecy says. The prophecy says Elijah must return. It doesn't say anything about some spirit possessing somebody in the future and acting like him. No. So this is, in case you Christians don't know, this is one of the major issues that the Jewish folks have, and that's why they don't believe that Jesus Christ is the Messiah. Now, if you can take this information, interpret it any way you want, but it's very blunt and very clear to me that little tidbit of information teaching about reincarnation was not able to be removed from the Bible. Because if you take out the teaching of reincarnation, then you don't have Elijah returning, therefore the prophecy is not fulfilled, therefore you don't have Jesus Christ as the Messiah. So they could not take that reincarnation teaching out of the Bible. So they left it as vague as they can, and then they came up with this wonderful story. So there you have it. In my opinion, the Bible does teach reincarnation. I know people are going to disagree, and they'll go along with the theologian's argument, but this is something that's just not. I don't want to start telling you who I am since everybody beats me up. They're like, oh, we don't care who you are. We don't care about your credentials. We don't care. I'm so sick and tired of hearing that. So what do you want me to do? Say I'm Joe Smuckatelli and I'm sitting here picking my nose and I don't know anything and I'm just babbling and rambling on? Or do you want to hear the real credentials? I have a couple degrees in religion. One branch of my family did start the Southern Baptist Church. Another branch of my family started Christian Radio America. I've been going to church all my life. I have never heard this teaching ever. It's glossed over. And if you've ever sat in a church and heard from the pulpit someone teaching about this teaching, I'd love to hear from you. I've never heard it. So there you go. Peace, love, good night. Be well, and take care.